Our starting point is a recommendation to add 3 sentences to the Constitution in recognition of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders as the first peoples of Australia. 1. There shall be a body to be called the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Voice. 2. The Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Voice may make representations to Parliament and the Executive Government on matters relating to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. And 3. The Parliament shall, subject to this Constitution, have power to make laws with respect to the composition, functions, powers and procedures of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Voice.
Tonight on some of the issues that we've already canvassed here with respect to language and with respect to education and the way that those issues are dealt with in this region, the experts for those issues are here in this country, in this region, to understand how we best deal with the issues of homelands, how we deal best with the issues of education in this region, how we deal best with the complexities around the language. The answers are not in Canberra. The answers aren't with politicians and bureaucrats in Canberra necessarily, or even in Darwin and places like that. The real expertise, the real wisdom, the real understanding of how things work on the ground are here. And so the voice is absolutely about making sure that those voices are involved when decisions are being made about homelands, when decisions are being made about education and language, that the people who understand how it actually works here are at the table advising the politicians and the bureaucrats about what needs to happen. It's about really getting in there. Rather than speculate about what might happen with the bipartisan support, I think let's just look at what we know now, because that's really important. So what we know now is we've had 15 years of unbroken bipartisanship on the question of recognising Indigenous peoples in the Constitution. That remains today. That bipartisanship remains today. The question has always been, what form should it take? What is the most meaningful form to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples? If we're going to do this, if we're going to take the nation to a referendum to recognise Indigenous peoples in the Constitution, what should it look like? What's meaningful to us? And the Uluru Statement from the Heart very clearly, definitively said, we can't just do symbolism. Brother Alonzo, thank you so much for that question. And I can only speak for myself and the work that we do. It's important that we ask ourselves that as we move through. The short answer is yes, I absolutely love what I do. I love being involved in this campaign for a voice to Parliament that's enshrined in the Constitution. And there's 2 reasons why. I had the great privilege of being able to listen to our mob in the lead up to the Uluru Statement from the Heart. I had the great privilege of watching our people wrestle with the difficult issues, have the differences of opinion, and work together to achieve something. And so when I think about the tough times sometimes in the work that we do, I think about those mob and what they gave. I think about what they gave to each other. I think what they gave to our mob and what they gave to the nation. Because it would have been really easy for our mob to talk about all the really just the bad stuff that happened in our country and the history and everything like that. But that's not what happened. They said, when we get this right, we're going to think better about ourselves as a nation. So I was absolutely inspired to my heart about the generosity of what our people rose to on that occasion to get to that point. And the other side of it has been the 5 years since that process, the opportunity to talk to thousands of Australians. And the things that's sticking out to me is the enormous amount of goodwill there is in the Australian people for this change. The Prime Minister spoke to that today. The interesting thing about what he spoke about today, when he talked about the words, he talked about the question, he wasn't talking to the commentators or the media people, the other politicians. He was talking to all the Australians because he knows the goodwill is there. And so I love this because I know it's going to be challenging. I know there are going to be challenges in front of us, but with the generosity and the vision of our people and the goodwill of the Australian people, we're going to get there. So thank you, brother.